let's just break it down, since that's what we're kind of already on, and just review what's happened over the last week, because it's been absolutely insane. So the first thing was Richard tweeted about the ink supply being cut by 10x, which I can't remember. I think I sent you that one. And obviously PulseX and ink started to run first really hard off of the news there. Then, now this was the real surprise. So that happened. It was like right before lunchtime, whatever day that was last week. I want to say like Thursday. And I took myself a midday nap, woke up, and I saw a tweet that all the LPs had been slashed as far as their APY, because you and I have been participating in that PulseX yield farm for a long time now. I mean, I think you probably over a year anyway. And that APY has been as high as 20% in like March of 2024 when we ran up really well, and as low as 8 or so. Well, in recent weeks, it's been 8 to 10%. And all of a sudden I woke up to it being 1 point something. It was like 1%. And then all the stables, which we don't really do the stable pools, obviously, but they were all down to 5, 6, 7% or something like that. And I was like, whoa, what is going on here? And just like, reacting, realizing I'm still in that pool, because my initial reaction was like, okay, I know the PulseX has been running really hard against Pulse. I know I already have, like, even though it's a little bit of impermanent loss in that farm. And now my APY has been cut to 1%. I don't know if I should be in this. And I went ahead and hurried up and just pulled liquidity. I mean, not that I needed to do it like instantly or anything, but I did. So people, and that was kind of what was happening. Like, I saw people on Twitter and things talking, like they were in the liquidity pools, like wondering what to do. And it was a clear sign. I mean, we know now, days later, I think, for people to pull their liquidity so we can get the price to move more quickly. Some people didn't want to pull it as quickly. And it's interesting, because you go through those machinations in your mind depending upon what pool you're in. Now, obviously, we don't advocate really the stable pools. We don't do that whatsoever. I don't even want to be in stables in this market, obviously, right now. But even being in the PulseX pool, when you expect both of those to go up, we know that PulseX has run so hard against it that, if you've been in it for any significant period of time, you probably have a little bit of permanent loss, if not a bit more than that. And now the rates get cut to where, if PulseX, it seems inevitable now that it's reaching parity. I mean, we're practically there. Now you're not even getting paid incentive nearly. I mean, you are, and it just doubled the incentive token in price, but your APY is only 1%. So you're like, whoa, I might actually get some real impermanent loss here with this. So what do you make? What did you make of it? Kind of like when the news happened, Ewok? And obviously, I know whatever you want to get into our personal conversations about what to do with liquidity the last couple of days, you can. But I did pull mine right away, and I'm glad I did. But what do you make of that?
Well, you basically said it first. Thanks, Nico, for the $5 Canadian. We appreciate it. Just wanted to shout you out there real quick.
Shout out, Nico. Thank you.
So I was hesitant. To pull it because I had gotten into the liquidity pool when it was probably 3 to 1. Then at like 2.6 or 2.5, I added more. So just to even it out a little bit, I was very hesitant because I had lost quite a bit of PulseX, gained a considerable amount of Pulse. I'm going to be honest with you. I made up with it probably how much I lost with what I made. But I was honestly ready to round trip it and wait to see if those ratios ever got back to anything close before I was going to pull it. And then, you're like, man, but you're not getting anything. And so it took me a little bit of time to kind of concede that it was probably the right thing to do. I ran some math. How many Pulse did I make? If I just trade those back, will I get back to the original amount of PulseX that I had? And I did. I got really, really close and have been gaining incentive this whole time and haven't really sold a whole lot of that either. I've traded some of that into other tokens here and there and used it to kind of balance things out. A couple times I did buy some of the PulseX that I had lost back. But yeah, I finally conceded after I had to rerun the math and figure out that I wasn't as bad as I thought I was. Decided that was the best thing to do. Now, when that gets done, obviously with less liquidity becomes the ease that we can really pump this thing. The heavier the chain is, obviously the more capital it takes to lift the prices. But you know, when you remove the incentive for people to add liquidity and they pull it out, well, things can run a lot harder. They can also fall a lot harder too. So, you know, keep that in mind when you see the Jeters jeeting that we keep talking about. It is going to fall pretty hard pretty quick, but it's easy to go back up. And I think with the amount of inflow that I'm seeing with new people to the community, new things going on, there's always somebody new that says, "Hey, I tried to razz these guys in Twitter, and I got welcomed with open arms, and they're a pretty damn cool community." So I've been seeing more and more of that from random people that have 25, 30,000 followers. Pretty awesome. So you know, it's just that it's that time of year. It's that time of, or not that time of the cycle anyway. Right. So that, you know, it's just, yeah, either way. To back to what you were saying is, yes, it took me a hot minute to understand and be willing to, you know, get out of that position, but it was easily fixed just by selling some of what I gained back to the other token. And that's the beauty of that pair is if it would have been with a stable, you would have been nowhere near doing that. You would have lost a lot of your token and not had anywhere near the USD or the DAI or the Tether to make up for it. So because they both move together a lot of times, whether one was faster than the other or not, they were still both going up. So that makes the world of difference when you're in a farm like that. So
yeah, the stable pools, you really would have been up shit's creek, but I mean, you probably already would have been anyway, frankly, if you were in them for any significant period of time. But no, it makes sense. I understand you needing to let the dust settle for a few days to really figure it out. What my point to you was the whole time wasn't so much like how much, even if it wasn't that much, and permanent loss you may have already experienced. It was like, well, now you definitely are getting some, like, going forward with, like, you know, not knowing how long these rates are going to be this low. I don't think it's going to be forever or anything, but if Pulse X continues to run on Pulse and maybe even exceed it with you having like a 1% APY, you know, that doesn't seem great, even though Inc has over doubled in the last week. I mean, I understand that too. These things are not easy to figure out.
Sure.
But you know, the main point is, I think it was I don't know what the hell is up with this camera tonight. I'll figure it out when I can. But the clear sign is that I think RH, you know, and the pools, it's like, we want things to move, and it's a signal, I think, to people to pull liquidity in the meantime, you know?
Yeah, I think that was the gist of it anyway, was you're not getting anything, so you might as well remove your liquidity. I think that was the sign. You know, that's the bottom line.
Whether said so,
yeah, exactly. So
so let me see where I was there while I'm fiddling with this stupid ass camera at the same time. So yeah, most people I think did pull liquidity there. So that was the first thing that we got, was the slashing of the Inc, and then so people, you know, pull their pulls and stuff like that. And then just a couple of days later, just the other night, we get that Inc was halved for a second time already, which made the price, of course, pump again. So let me just look at my notes here. So yeah, we had that happen again. Yeah, and again, I pulled my liquidity, you pulled your liquidity. I do think for anybody that is still wondering what to do there, if you were in the Pulse X farm, I mean, that's what we did. We're not going to recommend for you what to do, but if I'm only earning that much APY, I don't really want it to be in there. So, so yeah, we have that double with Inc. We've seen the Inc price fly up, which has been amazing.